With Cardassia and its people at a crossroads, one unexpected man's success would become the linchpin in what would change Cardassia forever, Vedek Untai Talaris. But what do we know about this Bajoran spiritual leader's role in the peace process? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, the final episode of the channel's Christmas with the Cardassians event, we're taking a look at Vedek Untai, as first mentioned in the series finale of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, to better understand his place in Star Trek history. Please note, this is my own story that I created out of a few tiny pieces of beta canon in what I hope is the spirit of both Trek and the holidays that you've all come to love. I also want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas or holiday season, and thank you all again for making this year and this channel what it is today. So grab yourself some red leaf tea and prepare yourself for another fun ride into the history of Cardassia. But as always, because this is just a bit of fan fiction, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so, with all that out of the way, let's begin. With the Dominion War at an end, the Bajoran people continued to prosper and grow. Cardassia, on the other hand, was in a state of complete chaos. The destruction carried out by the Dominion shortly before the war's end would see almost 1 billion Cardassians killed indiscriminately, and many of Cardassia's great cities razed to the ground. Critical infrastructure designed to feed the masses of Cardassia had collapsed, while remaining power stations struggled to keep the bare essentials such as medical facilities running. In short, Cardassia was a mess. Knowing that a Cardassia not intent on war or revenge would be the best for everyone in the Alpha and Beta quadrants, the Federation Council would quickly put forth a plan to aid the devastated world for the member worlds to vote on. But selling this plan in the name of the greater good would be much harder than anyone had ever expected. Several member worlds had been directly impacted by the war. Particularly hard hit was the planet Beta Z, an extremely valued member of the Federation, whose planet was temporarily occupied by Dominion forces, with the bulk of its population forced to aid the Dominion in several projects such as mineral mining in the Betazoid star system. And with this fresh hell in Beta Z's memory, they were simply not eager to aid the Cardassian people at all. Meanwhile, on Bajor, the death of the Kai had left a spiritual hole within the Bajoran people. Her duplicity and actions against Bajor during the last days of her life had seen Kai Wynn Adami become a pariah amongst the planet's population. But as life must move on, the race for the next Kai had already begun, with Vedek Untai in the lead as the most heavily favored by all of Bajor. But by early 2376, that would all change, with Vedek Linjarin now in the lead, and Vedek Untai firmly standing in last place of the race. The reason for this change had been Untai's sudden disappearance from the public's eye shortly after Wynn's death. Rather than spiritually campaigning across Bajor, the Vedek had instead withdrawn to an isolated monastery where he refused to see anyone. No one at the time knew why this was, but later accounts by the Vedek himself would explain his odd behavior.
Shortly after Wynn's death, I received a vision from the prophets. In this vision was a basket. Half the basket held a beautiful bounty of Bajoran fruit, a perfect sampling from all over Bajor, while the other half held rotten fruit that I did not recognize at all. I leapt towards the basket, attempting to empty out all the rotten fruit before it infected the bountiful side, but all to no avail. As I furiously dug handful after handful of rotten sludge from the basket, I could see the good fruit withering and becoming rotten itself. A voice from behind me said, This is not where you are meant to be." I looked up, and there stood Kaiopaka, smiling, but shaking her head. And then the vision was over. I didn't understand what it meant and withdrew myself to the monastery at Kaisi to ponder it. The prophets had sent me a message, and I had to figure it out for the good of Bajor. spent a little over 3 months there at the monastery, and it was only when a junior Vedic who was also there for spiritual enlightenment showed me his pet project did I suddenly understand the meaning of my vision. The young Vedic led me to a garden he had created and cultivated himself. The garden contained a wide variety of plants, most of which I recognized immediately. But then, my eyes focused on a vine-like fauna. "What is that?" I asked. "Oh, that," the young Vedic said. "That one was particularly hard to grow. It's called a Yavor fruit." I was stunned, barely able to say anything, but I managed to croak out in a whisper, "Where's it from?" The young spiritualist looked at me, most likely puzzled by my reaction to the plant, but soon he answered my question. "Cardassia! The fruit is from Cardassia!" And suddenly, I knew what the vision meant and what I had to do.
Leaving the monastery at Warp Factor 9, Vedek Ungtai would arrange transport to Earth, where he would demand an immediate meeting with the Federation Council. Though not normal procedure, Vedek Ungtai would be granted an audience with the Federation Council, where he would deliver a speech that would change everything.
"I am but a humble spiritual servant of the Bajoran people. Almost 4 months ago, I had a vision given to me by the prophets, what you of the Federation call the wormhole aliens. I will not bore you with the details, but I will tell you the meaning of the vision, that we must all unite and support Cardassia. Cardassia has always been a thorn in our sides, an evil that plagued us with each step it took. Like the Betazoid people, my planet too was ravaged by that evil, an evil that cannot be allowed to grow again. Cardassia is at a turning point where its people, its civilians, can become a productive and valued member on the galactic stage, or they can falter and fall back into a state of simmering vengeance, with their eyes set upon watching the galaxy burn, with all of us sent down another dark path, which will destroy us. For 50 years, my people suffered under the yoke of the Cardassian Union. For 50 years, we were enslaved, murdered, and violated. So we understand how the Betazoids and many other member worlds feel. In fact, the idea of helping Cardassia even now turns my own stomach. But if we do not move forward now, shining our light of hope all over Cardassia, then what is to come will make the Dominion War look like two children fighting over who truly won a race. And if we take that darker path, not even the prophets, the wormhole aliens, will be able to help us.
After a short break, the Federation Council would reconvene, and surprisingly, the vote to offer full aid to Cardassia would be successfully pushed through, with no votes against the plan, and only one member world abstaining from the vote, that of Betazed. This decision would change Cardassia's course forever. They would indeed become a valued member on the galactic stage, even joining the United Federation of Planets itself. As for Vedek Ungtai, he would not become the Kai of Bajor, having missed the election while giving his speech to the Federation Council. Ungtai would never return home. Instead, he journeyed to Cardassia Prime, where he would become the first Bajoran to settle on the planet by choice. He would offer spiritual guidance to the Cardassian people, all the while maintaining a quiet and humble life. In 2409, after being diagnosed with a rare and fatal illness, Ungtai Talaris would book passage on a Federation freighter heading to the Gamma Quadrant to drop off supplies at a Bajoran colony. He would never arrive at the colony, however, with an investigation determining that though the Vedek had entered the wormhole on the Alpha Quadrant side, he had never exited it, leading all to the conclusion that Vedek Ungtai was now with the prophets. A humble man destined to be the next Kai of Bajor, Ungtai Talaris would instead ignore the lure of fame and fortune in hopes of promoting a peace that would change Cardassia forever, earning Ungtai Talaris his title of Vedek of Peace in Federation, Bajoran, Cardassian, and galactic history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon. What do you think of Vedek Ungtai and the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Once again, I'd like to take a moment to wish you all a happy and safe Christmas or holiday season. I hope Santa is good to you all. Want to help this channel sow the seeds of peace and cooperation throughout the galaxy? Then consider becoming a channel member subscriber or a channel patron, both a major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to both memberships is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.